And I want to ask you and all your listeners, Katie, for one moment to think about this question. If Mr. Chesbro was the architect of the fake elector scheme, if Mr. Chesbro was the architect of some plan to bring down democracy, which is what I've heard over and over for the last couple of months, both in court and out of court, would the district attorney of Fulton County have offered him probation and first offender status? I think the answer is no. And I think if you asked her, the answer would be no. And so while Mr. Chesbro did take responsibility for conspiracy to commit filing of false documents, I want to make something clear. He did not implicate anyone else. He implicated himself in that particular charge. And while he is required to go testify truthfully if he's called by the state, and Mr. Chesbro is a man of his word, and he will go testify truthfully if called by the state's going to have to decide at some point whether they think Mr. Chesbro's testimony will help them. And if they believe it will help them, well, they'll call him and he'll come testify. But also at the same time, Katie, I will say, if he's called by a defendant, he will come testify and testify truthfully.
Scott, now, listen, you and I have been doing this for a long time, right? Although I technically don't do it anymore. I do this. But your client gave a recorded proffer to the state of Georgia. And what did he say?
I'm not at liberty to say exactly what he said, but here's what I'm at liberty to say. Someone asked me earlier, if you were Donald Trump, would you be worried? And I could personally, honestly answer no. And it's not that Mr. Chesbro is trying to protect Donald Trump or anyone else. He's not. He's ready to move on with his life. But I was there in the proffer. Again, I'm not going to say what was said because it is a confidential proffer and that will probably get me in trouble. But I can say that I personally do not believe the state will call him to testify on their behalf. If they do, and if I'm wrong, Mr. Chesbro will be there. He'll testify truthfully.
When you take a look at articles like this, how MMBC put it, you will see exactly how they are jubilating that Trump has been nailed in the coffin, but this lawyer proved them wrong. CNN reporter was shocked. Lawyer said CNN anchor straight as Fani Wallis record case against Trump keep falling apart. I have seen how the mainstream media is jubilating that Trump is done. You recently saw where Cindy Powell and some other lawyers decided to go against him. And it has actually caused a lot of liberals to be melting down about this. Sometimes when I look at how the media is reacting to this, I don't get the point.
Today, your client has now implicated Trump in this criminal conspiracy. If he is called upon to testify in this Georgia case, is he willing to implicate Trump on a witness stand, which seems to be required in this plea deal that he just struck?
So, Abby, first of all, thank you so much for having me. Second of all, I am going to respectfully disagree with you on one thing. I don't think he implicated anyone but himself. And I just want to point out two important facts that I think will get exactly to your question. Not only did he avoid jail time, but this is the most important. He did not plead guilty to the RICO charge. Mr. Chesbro pled guilty, and I printed it out to make sure I had the exact words, conspiracy to commit filing of false documents. The RICO charge was dismissed. And listen, Mr. Chesbro accepted responsibility for count 15 of the indictment, and he agreed that if he were called by the state, he would come testify truthfully. And he is a man of his word, and he will do that. Whether his testimony is going to be helpful to the state, that's going to be for the state to decide. I personally do not see his testimony being helpful for the state, but if the state wants to call him, he absolutely will come and tell the truth. And if they think that's helpful for them and they think they could convince a jury that his testimony is helpful for them, then so be it.
So who in Mr. Chesbro's view was the architect of this fake electors plot?
Mr. Chesbro doesn't think there was a fake electors plot. And Abby, please, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but the fake electors plot was part of the RICO conspiracy. And Fani Wallis dismissed the RICO charge. And the charge that he pled to has nothing to do with being the architect of the fake elector plot. And I will say, and I will ask anyone listening to ask themselves this question. If Mr. Chesbro was the architect of the fake elector plot, then would the district attorney of Fulton County offer him 5 years probation and first offender?
Trump recently sent this out on Truth Social. Sidney Powell was one of millions and millions of people who thought, and in ever-increasing numbers still think correctly, that the 2020 presidential elect was real and stolen, and our country is being absolutely destroyed because of it. Despite the fake news report to the contrary, and without even reaching out to ask the Trump campaign, Ms. Powell was not my attorney and never was. In fact, she will never been conflicted. Ms. Powell did a valiant job of representing a very unfairly treated and governmentally abused General Mike Flynn, but to no avail. His persecution, despite the fact, was ruthless. He was an innocent man, much like many other innocent people who are being persecuted by this now fascist government of ours, and I was honored to give him a full pardon. When I take a look at this Trump sent out and how some people are reacting to this, it is concerning. People says when somebody goes against Trump, he will always look for a possible way to twist things around. I want us to be realistic here. Was Sidney Powell Trump lawyer at that time? I want you to know under the comment section, because people just spew out some things without actually verifying what they are saying. It has reached a certain level before you speak on social media. Verify your information before you put out. Trump sending this out is to clearly tell people who believe that this case against Trump, or these people going off to say, oh, we will no longer testify again, well, we will join these people to make them understand that this person was never representing him. Which to Libras, they don't want to hear this. Libra media will make you think Trump is done. But this lawyer actually disproved them. Taking a look at the article, in the last 2 days, the quest to hold accountable those who allegedly interfere in the 2020 presidential election has taken 2 dramatic and potentially far-reaching turns. Lawyer Sidney Powell and Kenneth have decided to plead guilty and testify against their co-defendant in Fulton County District Attorney Fani Wallis. The plea could prove to be provable in former President Donald Trump's legal coffin. Powell pleaded guilty to 6 misdemeanor counts, while Chesbro pleaded to a felony count of conspiracy to commit filing false documents. Both were committed as part of a corrupt scheme to overturn the result of the presidential election in Georgia. Their co-defendants in that case include Trump, former White House chief of staff Mark Meadows, and Trump personal attorney Rudy, among others, although it is not clear how much direct evidence the pair may be able to offer against their co-defendant. The guilty plea affirmed that there was indeed a criminal conspiracy to corruptly interfere in the Georgia election.